New commitment for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and here to discuss is former Notre Dame linebacker and captain Mike Goolsby, and I am blueandgold.com recruiting insider Mike Singer. The commit we're talking about today is Athens Academy wide receiver Deion Colzie, listed at 6'4", 205 pounds, ranked as the number 107 player in the country, number 17th receiver, and number 9 player in the state of Georgia. Mike, this is a kid who committed to Notre Dame last October, decommitted in March, and then over the summer, no one thought Notre Dame was in the mix. The Irish staff kept working on him. Everyone thought he was going to Georgia. Then the rumors were Florida. Then the rumors were Alabama. But the Irish staff kept working on Colzie, and now he is back in the class as he announced today. What is your reaction to this commitment, Mike? What do you think about Colzie when you watch his film?
Well, we'll get to the film, but in terms of the committing, decommitting, recommitting scenario, I kind of like that. I mean, the kid will have no second doubts in terms of the direction he chose. And I'd love to be a fly on the wall for some of those phone calls. Like, did he decommit from Notre Dame thinking, Georgia was going to put the full court press on, or Florida was going to roll out the red carpet, or Bama? And I wonder if that happened, or I wonder if it didn't happen. He came back home to Notre Dame. So that's just interesting, or to speculate how that might have went down. But on film, like you and I had said sort of off air right before the call, Colzie's like that creative character in Madden. Some of your listeners might be familiar, but yeah, 6'4", 205. Everybody loves a 6'3" plus receiver just on paper. It's sexy on paper. Really smooth, sudden kid. He has long speed. It's unfortunate that so much of what we see on these highlight clips is just these deep balls, just these go balls or post routes, what have you. But just a really natural player, long-limbed, a type of player that I think fans would get excited about, especially when you see that offer list and he's down there playing in Georgia. I don't know how many pundits, Mike, and we're doing this podcast, 36 hours after the Duke game. But like between kickoff of that Duke game and now, I must have heard that 50-50 jump ball analogy with Chase Claypool. I think I've heard it at least a dozen times. Different people, we don't have that 50-50 ball. It's actually more 90-10 per Ian Book with Claypool. So anyways, Colzie's that type of player. Has the potential to be just a long, athletic, kind of quick, sudden type athlete. So a natural receiver. To me, like the comp that I wrote down was Michael Floyd. The other thing too, it's if you watch enough film, it sort of comes through at the high school level. Like he knows he's the man. He just like carries himself on the field, not in a bad way at all or whatsoever. But that's encouraging. That's like when you see that type of body language, you think that maybe that's a kid that can come in and contribute early on in his college career.
Yeah, every time I've gone to see him play, whether it was in a 7-on-7 type practice workout or this past summer, or when I went and saw him play one of his first couple of games as a junior, just dominant. You see a lot of these tight ends receivers at the high school level, and a lot of times you're just like, why? Like this kid's committed to X school. He's got this offer list. Why does he have like 2 catches for 15 yards? That ain't the catch with Colzie. They throw him the ball. I love seeing that at the high school level. Any potential concerns you see? I mean, none of these kids are finished products, but, like the potential flags in his game. I mean, I think the one I kind of hear the most, whether it's, on our message board or reading various articles, is that, he might not be the quickest guy. You mentioned he's a strider. Do you have concerns about, short area quickness with him, or is it just like he's just, he's not a slot receiver. Like that's not his game. He's
he's kind of a floater, kind of a glider. But yeah, I wrote down him. He has some suddenness to him. How do you split the hairs between what is short area quickness and what is suddenness? Because they're probably 2 separate things, or they are 2 separate things. But yeah, that isn't an immediate concern with me. the bigger concern, and again, he's only in high school still, right? He's still a work in progress. But everything that you see on film is a long ball. And he is sort of an upright runner. So for when kids have to work on running their routes, like you almost have to tell them to stay down through the route. So many high school kids will have the release, they're down, and they come up before they make their cut, which is obviously they're just telegraphing things.
Right.
So he does run a little bit up high, and at his height with his frame and just the fluidity, and he's such a natural, like, I don't think that he's had to work at his level with his God-given ability. So that's something that he needs to address as he continues to develop, is to start to come down a little bit in terms of when you're into your route, you got to drop your weight so that you can make those in and out breaks versus just everything going vertical. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, no, couple notes. He does play low private school ball
You can tell.
Georgia. Other thing, yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, if he runs upright and when he does make an in-breaking route or he's running a comeback route, as soon as you see him drop his hips or he kind of changes how he's running his route, it's a tell for a DB. All right, he's about to break. Whether otherwise, if he's running low the entire time, kid can make his break and there's
yeah. So that's just the thing. I mean, that's like you teach every receiver in the inverse of football. You're teaching a DB, but you teach every receiver every single release, or excuse me, once you get into your route, not the release per se, but it should all look the same. So he can't tell if you're running a stop route. He can't tell if you're running an in route. So that's just something. It's not a concern at all. But to answer your question, he needs to continue to develop that, because he will get, like, some of these dominant receivers you see at the college level, and then when they try and step into the NFL, and all of our fantasy listeners that play fantasy, they know it's like year 3 that those NFL receivers really start to get their bearings and get their feet underneath them. And some of these dominant guys you see in college that are 6'4" or whatever, I mean, they get the what jammed out of them at the line of scrimmage at that level. So you can kind of extrapolate that to the high school level. It's going to be more of that when he gets to college. He's not going to be used to getting pressed. So he's got to deal with that in his off-season work. And I'm sure there's enough talent down there in Georgia for him to work out with folks and continue to develop.